Well, hello. Hey, today I'm having some technical. Everything seems to be going wrong. And I think that is partly because it is a very hot day here in Manchester. And when you have a laptop, an old MacBook Pro laptop, which is running very hot, things don't go according to plan. So hopefully you can bear with me today as the tech decides to work or not work. But let me know if you are watching live. This is episode 124 of the Confident Live Marketing Show. And in today's show, I'm talking about, would you believe it, how to make tech simple. So yes, the best thing I'm going to talk about today is making sure that your computer is the right one, that it is going to work really simply for you. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about what I'm going to do about my technical problems. So let me know if you are watching live. Let's see who we've got here. We've got Melissa in the house. Great to see you, Melissa. I hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good birthday. And also, Jemima is here with a great question. Yes, I'm going to answer that question in a little bit because that's such a good question, Jemima. I want that to be in the main part of the show, which I do for the podcast. We've got Hassan watching from Quebec in Canada. Great to see you. Yes, I am having some technical problems, Hassan. It happens to us all from time to time. But there we go. Awesome. Right. Well, I think it is time to get on with the show. Please let me know where in the world you're watching from. If you have any questions, we're talking about how to make tech simple. So I'll be with you just after this. Hello and welcome to episode 124 of the Confident Live Marketing Podcast. And in today's show, I'm telling you, we're going to focus on helping you make tech easy, live video tech easy. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So we'll be with you just after this.
Welcome to the Confident Live Marketing Show with Ian Anderson Gray.
Helping you level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of confident live video.
Optimize your mindset and communication and increase your confidence in front of the camera.
Get confident with the tech and gear.
And get confident with the content and marketing.
Together, we can go live!
Well, hello. This is episode 124 of the Confident Live Marketing Show. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to make live video tech easy. And ironically, the tech is not working well for me today. I blame the heat. It is a very hot day here in Manchester. And I love this from Sam. Samantha Boffin is watching on LinkedIn. And she says, I love that your tech is making the point for you. Classic. Isn't that great? Yes, so there we go. Well, hopefully you can still see me and you can still hear me. We'll just have to see how we get on today with all of that. But yes, today's show is sponsored by my good friends at Agora Pulse. So here's a little bit more about Agora Pulse.
The Confident Live Marketing Podcast is made possible thanks to our sponsor, Agora Pulse. Agora Pulse is the all-in-one social media management tool. Publish, schedule, monitor, and engage on all your social media platforms. And with the social inbox, you and your team can manage all your messages, comments, and mentions all in one place and get to that magical inbox zero. And don't forget the amazing analytics and reporting so you can see how your social efforts are performing. Get your first month completely free at agorapulse.com/confident live.
Well, thank you very much, Agora Pulse. Do check out Agora Pulse. It is my favorite social media management tool. I've been using them for years and years and years, and I don't know what I'd do without them. They are awesome. Well, today's show is all about tech and making it easy. And I think one of the things that people struggle with here is, trying to start too complicated, making things like trying to get the high-end microphones, the high-end mixer, cameras, and then just trying to get it all connected. And of course, as you can see, when you have all of that, sometimes it doesn't always go according to plan. Sometimes you have some tech issues. And one of the main things that you need to focus on right at the start is your computer. So if you don't have a decent computer, if you're having problems with your computer, you're going to have some tech problems, which is kind of ironic, which is what I'm struggling with today. So let's focus on, let's have a look. Let's see if we can go through the various tech Now, what I'd like to know actually from you, if you are watching live, can you hear me and can you see me? I'm just wondering, I don't normally do this, I'm just wondering whether actually I should just give up today because and postpone this, because on the screen it's looking very, very jagged, and my computer is just grinding to a halt. So it might not be good for me to carry on today, and I can postpone this and maybe do it on Monday. So if you could let me know in the comments, that would be great. Whether you can hear me and see me, whether it's okay, that would be really cool. But I'm kind of struggling here. Let's have a look. Let's see if I can get the next scene working. Yeah, so thank you, Alec. The audio and video are out of sync. Yes, I can hear and see you, but you're stuttering visually. Perfect sound though. Hearing you and seeing you, sometimes you appear in slow-mo. Now it is okay. Yeah, I think it's probably best if I postpone. But just since you are all here, I think I'm going to do this again on Monday. Although it seems to be fine now. That's just weird. What's going on? What is going on? Oh my goodness. Right. Okay. So I did come up with some slides today, and I wanted to go through a number of different studio setups with you. And so going right from the start, going with a really basic setup right through to a more complicated setup. So yeah, it seems to be working. It seems to be working okay. So let's carry on. Let's carry on. What could possibly go wrong? So the first thing that I want to say is, which is ironic, tech is actually not the most important thing. It's important to focus on some other things first, because if you don't focus on these things, everything else will not go well for you. So the first thing, of course, is planning. Planning what the show is going to be all about, planning what the what the message is going to be to your audience as well. Because if you don't get that sorted, you're not going to be consistent. And that reminds me of the question that Jemima posted right at the start. And I'm sorry I missed, I didn't get back to you, Jemima, but probably because of all of my tech issues. But you said this: I'm curious, in the last 18 months, have you had periods where you didn't have the energy to do video? Oh my goodness, like so many times. And, this is actually, I want to let you into a kind of a secret. It's not really a secret if you've been watching this show for any length of time, but I'm very much, I would describe myself as the reluctant live video guy. Yes, I'm known as the live video guy around the world, and that is my message. But video is something that I've always struggled with. Getting in front of the camera, getting that energy levels. I'm an introvert. I always worried about making a complete fool of myself in front of the camera. And so this is why I love live video, because yes, it does require that energy, and goes through that. I do go through those periods when I didn't necessarily feel like doing it. But when you have a plan, and when you have a strategy, and when you schedule in advance, you have to do it. And I've said to myself that, and said to my audience, that I'm going to have a podcast every single week. I'm going to go live. Not necessarily every single week. Sometimes I will give myself a week off or 2 weeks off. But because I've set that, I've got that plan and I've got that strategy in place, I do it. And it also, everyone's different, but I find that when I do a live, I'm pretty exhausted at the end of it. So I have to take some time off. So yeah, that's. I don't know whether anyone else feels like that, but it's quite common. I've spoken to a lot of people in the live video world, and they feel very similar about the amount of energy that we can have when we do live videos. So yeah, so that's the first thing. The planning is so important. Work out what your message is, and also work at your confidence as well, because before you go live and before you start upgrading the tech, if your confidence is not there, if your consistency is not there, then you're going to really struggle with that. And let's get on with the tech then. So what do I recommend that you start off with? Well, the most important thing that you should go for is a computer, a reliable computer. And if the tech problems that I'm having today serve as any kind of learning tool, it's this. Because, this computer that I've got, this MacBook Pro, was a very expensive MacBook Pro back in 2018, but it's slow. It's running slow. It's an Intel processor. And so what I recommend, if you're a Mac user, is absolutely go for an M1 Mac. Now, you might be absolutely fine with your computer at the moment, but if you want to do kind of flawless stuff when it comes to live video, then a Mac Mini, the M1, is like only $700 or pounds. Okay, only, but for a Mac, that's very cheap. So you want to go for, if you're a Mac, then go for that. Otherwise, you need to go for an Intel processor with, I recommend 16 gigs of memory. So that's the first thing that I recommend, is go for a computer that you can rely upon. Alec is asking a question that I couldn't possibly comment on. He's saying, is that a real brick wall in your new house or flat or virtual? Well, what do you think? I really like this, and it is actually wallpaper. Okay, it is wallpaper, and I'm working on my studio. I'm working on upgrading quite a few things in the background. But this is my start. I've got my little plants there. I'm thinking about having some shelving with some, kind of more interesting stuff that kind of reflects my personality. So yeah, that's what that is. The computer is really important. The second most important thing is your internet speed. And ideally, you want to connect via Ethernet. So wired connection. Now, if you're on a computer without an Ethernet adapter connection, then you can buy an adapter, and that's actually what I've got at the moment. You can't see it at the moment, but it's USB-C to Ethernet, so it means I can plug directly in to my router, which makes a massive difference. We're on a really fast connection here. I think we supposedly get 1,000 megabits per second down and about 55 to 60 up. But if I use wireless, that goes down considerably. It goes down to around 300. Whereas if I plug in, it's about 800, 900 most of the time. So I highly recommend that you plug in with a wired connection, because stability is really important, and upload speed is particularly important too. So for if you want a reliable internet connection, you want at least 10 megabits per second up. That's what you want. 10 megabits per second up. And do a speed test before you go live. I've done that, and it works really, really well. Let's go back to what we were talking about earlier about the energy side of things, because I like this from Hassan. He says, I have a daily fight with entropy. I found that having rituals and routines can help. Totally agree with you. They set me on track, just like brushing my teeth and working out helped me start the day. Absolutely. So exercise is really important. There's loads of stuff to do with mindset and your body and how and what you eat and all that kind of thing. So important. That's really helped me. I don't know about you, Hassan, but I find routine really helps, but I've also got to break out of that routine as well. Otherwise, I go completely mad. So having the plan in place is really important. I work out 3 days a week, and those don't change, but then I can also do, just kind of out of the ordinary things as well. So totally agree with you. I love that. A daily fight with entropy. Yeah, absolutely agree with you. Okay, so we've talked about computer, we talked about internet speed. The next important thing is audio. And I recommend starting off with something really basic. When I started with a very simple webcam and a Blue Yeti microphone. The microphone I'd recommend these days would be a Samsung QTU microphone. I've talked about that a lot on the show. Or just get a simple lapel mic. If you don't want the microphone on camera, then just a lapel mic that you can plug into your computer will work really well. And then a simple camera, such as, it could be like the Logitech C920, which is a great camera. So yeah, what I suggest to you is just keep things simple. Keep things simple and don't compare yourself with other people. I've been doing this for years and years and years, and the tech that I've got is not what I started with. I've upgraded this over the years, and quite frankly, if I started off with this and things went wrong, I would scream. I would not be happy. So it's really, really important to not compare yourself with other people. Start off with it's not just to do with your budget, it's also to do with what you can cope with psychologically. And so, work on the priorities. The priorities are a decent microphone. That's more important than your camera. Get a Logitech C920 camera. And the thing about that is that when you upgrade to a better camera later on, you're still going to want that C920 because you might want to have a different camera angle that you can use later on. So that's something to think about. And Sam is saying, I managed to get my iMac upgraded recently from 8 gigabytes to 32 gigabytes, plus an Intel processor, totally different. That is amazing. Yeah, memory. If you can upgrade, then I would definitely recommend 16, or if you can 32, that is awesome. That's going to make a massive, massive difference. Not a new Mac, an upgrade by an engineer. Well, that is amazing. Really, really amazing. And guess what? We've got the phone going off. Oh, that's really annoying because actually what should be happening is that should be silenced. This is a new phone and just all going wrong today. How do I switch this off? Come on, switch off, please. Okay, it's not switching off. Typical. I'm going to take out the batteries. There you go. Right, okay. Victoria Fleming is in the house. What do you see as the next step up from the Logitech? That's what we're going to talk about. Thank you, Victoria. Watching on LinkedIn. It's great to see you, Victoria. Hope you're doing really well. Great. Okay, so let's go and have a look at my slides. Where's my slides gone? Come on, slides. Let's put them on the screen. Okay, so the first studio setup that I recommend is kind of really what I've recommended so far. So for your computer, if you're on the lookout for a new computer, I personally prefer when it comes to live streaming, I think Macs are so easy to use and they're great. So ideally get an M1 Mac. And what I'm doing, because I'm so frustrated with my current setup, is I've ordered a new Mac Mini with 16 gigs of RAM, and it's going to work beautifully. So I can't wait. That's going to hopefully arrive in the next week or so, and we'll see what happens with that. So, but if you have a PC, PCs are great as well. It's just the software for a PC can be, to begin with, they're easy, but as you upgrade, you'll get to a point where the learning curve becomes a little bit greater on that. Number two, obviously a wired internet connection, audio, Samsung QTU microphone or lapel mic. I recommend the M6 earphones. I've got some big headphones on at the moment, but because I quite like these, and I can't find my M6 earphones because we've moved house. And then the Logitech C920. In terms of the software that I'd use, I highly recommend using Restream Studio because it works in the browser. It's really super simple. You don't need to learn any complicated software there. So it works really, really well. So that is studio number one. Studio number two, once you want to level things up, the computer is exactly the same. The internet is exactly the same. The microphones are exactly the same because the thing is the Samsung QTU is awesome. And the earphones are the same. And again, the camera is the same. So what is different? Well, what I'd recommend that you go for next is investing in some lighting. Now, if you can afford the Elgato key lights, that's what I'd recommend. I don't recommend ring lights, particularly if you wear glasses, because you get that reflection in them. But if you go to iag.me/gear guide, you'll see a lot of different recommendations in terms of lighting. But the Yongnuo YN300 Air Pro LED, they really do need to come up with some better titles for these. But these are small LED lights and they work really well. If you can pay for the Elgato key lights, I'd highly recommend those. And then for software, you can then, if you want, and you're on a Mac, you could play around with Ecamm Live. It is beautiful. I use Ecamm Live for most of my lives. It works great. Okay, we want to upgrade, and I think this is, Victoria, is probably where we can upgrade to the next level for you. Now, so we've got, again, the computer, the internet, the audio are all the same. The earphones are the same. And then if you want to upgrade, I recommend the Logitech Brio. It's easy to use. You just plug it in via USB. It's a bit more expensive. It's about £200, $200. Actually, you can get it a bit cheaper than that. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can buy a teleprompter. This is totally optional, but you can put a teleprompter in front of your camera. And it means that you can then see notes, and it works beautifully. That's kind of what I'm using at the moment. And then you've got the Elgato key lights, software, Restream Studio or Ecamm Live. And then I also recommend getting a Stream Deck as well, because the Stream Deck, by the way, is not going to be helpful if you use Restream Studio, because at the moment, Restream Studio doesn't have the ability to switch scenes using the Stream Deck, but it does work beautifully with either OBS Studio or Ecamm Live. So definitely recommend that. Victoria agrees. Ring lights are really annoying when you wear specs. And do you know what? Even if you don't wear specs, I don't recommend ring lights, because you get that reflection in your eyes. And as my friend Adrian Salisbury says, you kind of look like an alien. So, yeah, I'm not a massive fan of them. I prefer key lights either side of you. Makes a massive difference, I think. So, yeah, that's what I would recommend. Okay, so what is next? If you want to upgrade to the next level, and this is really only once you feel super confident with all the tech, because level 4 is a lot more expensive. You know, first of all, you've invested in your computer, the wired connection, the microphone. You might want to upgrade the microphone on Studio number 3, but we'll talk about that in a bit. You've upgraded the webcam, and you've got a teleprompter. You've got the key lights. You got the software. You've had to invest a lot of time in learning those, and you got the Stream Deck. So there's already quite a lot of extra stuff that you've had to learn. And this is, quite a few months down the line. In my case, this was years down the line. I started off with a very simple camera and microphone. I actually had to learn quite complicated software back then. That's just because there wasn't the simple software then. But over the years now, or maybe a couple of years ago, this is pretty much what I had in my Studio 3. So let's go on to Studio 4. And I've actually missed something out here, which I'll talk about. So again, computer, your internet connection are exactly the same. Audio, well, yes, you could carry on with the Samsung QTU, or you could go for a microphone off camera. So it would be something like a shotgun microphone, or you could go for the kind of microphone that I've got, which is the Heil PR40 microphone. I'm a massive fan of this with all the kit. Now that is quite expensive. The earphones are the same, and then the Rodecaster Pro is a lovely mixer that I showed last episode. That will process your voice, make you sound even better. Then, in terms of the camera, in fact, what on earth have I done here with my numbers? I've got all the numbers wrong. But then the camera, what I'd recommend above the Brio is to go for a mirrorless camera. This is going to be significantly more expensive. You're going from about $180 and pounds up to, you know, $800-900 and pounds. So a lot more. But the difference in quality is significant. And I'm going to show that another time when the tech is working a lot better. So what I recommend here is the Sony 6400. I currently use the Canon M50. If you're going to go for Canon, I recommend the Canon M50 Mark II. It's a bit cheaper than the Sony, but the Sony A6400 is the next camera that I'm going to be buying. You need to get an extra piece of kit, the Elgato Cam Link. So as you can see, this is a lot more complicated. And if you're looking at this and you're thinking, oh my goodness, this is too much, then don't go for this. Start with one of those early studios. In today's show, I'm talking about making tech easy. And the reason I'm putting Studio 4 in here is to kind of show you this is where you can end up at, but don't try and go for Studio 4 right now, straight away. You know, you're building this up over time. Alec is saying you'll need a battery to mains and a cam link to accompany the Sony A6400. Absolutely. I've not put everything in here because there's just wasn't enough room. But with any camera, with the M50 camera or the Sony camera, you'll need to get an AC mains adapter to plug into the camera, and it plugs into the battery. Just underneath the battery, and so yes, you need that, and yes, you'll obviously need the other one. And Alex says yes, you could go for the A5100 if you can find one. It's much cheaper, and yeah, they're discontinued, so it's difficult to find. I'm not exactly sure about the specs of the A5100, but yeah, they work well. Well, the Canon M50 Mark II. It's definitely good. I love my Canon M50. It just doesn't always work exactly the way I want to. So you got that. And then I also recommend the iPad teleprompter, which I mentioned before. But something that I've added now is I've added an extra monitor on there. So this works really well. This is a bit more complicated. I don't know whether this is going to work. Let's see if it is. Is this going to work? Yes, it is. There we go. So I've got a little monitor here. It is called the FeelWorld T7. And the cool thing about this is it reflects onto my teleprompter there. But the important thing is that it actually mirrors the image. So whatever I see on there will be mirrored onto the teleprompter, and it works beautifully. So, but again, this is something a lot more complicated and something you want to think about later on. Okay, so I think that is it. I'm not able to press the other button because it's just deciding to stop. What else would I say? Oh yes, in terms of software, you could go for, again, Restream Studio or Ecamm Live, or if you're on a PC, you might want to level things up and go for OBS Studio or vMix, something like that. And then I also recommend the Stream Deck XL because you can never have enough buttons. So Tracy is here. Thank you, Tracy, for joining us. She asks, why mirrorless? Because of size. Yeah, so you can go for a DSLR. The important thing here, Tracy, is the camera needs to have what we call clean HDMI out. So I'll explain a little bit more about this. We're in danger of making things a little bit more complicated, but yeah, when you upgrade from a standard webcam to the next level, you have a choice. Now, if you are using a Canon camera, then you can use a mirrorless camera. Tends to be cheaper, by the way, than the DSLR cameras. And they're also smaller, less bulky. So I think you're right because of size. That's one aspect of it. But the Canon ones, you can actually plug directly into your computer via USB, and you can use that as a webcam, either using the software that Canon give you or using Ecamm Live, or there are other software for PCs as well. So it is really, really easy. But you'll get a better quality if you can plug the camera directly into your computer via a capture card, such as the Elgato Cam Link. The important thing here is that the camera itself needs to output cleanly. So a lot of the cameras out there, they will output not just the image of you, they will output like the battery indicator and the autofocus and lots of other stuff that you will see on your camera screen, which is fine, but you don't want that to come onto your live video, do you? But with some of the ones, particularly the Sony range, they have clean HDMI out, which means what you see through the camera lens is what's going to be sent out to your computer. And so you plug that into your cam link, and then it just works beautifully. And the quality is amazing as well. So yeah, that's what I would say there. I love this from Alec. This is great. At which studio level do you include the microphone flag? Any of the levels, really. This is totally optional, but it's great for branding. A mic flag is basically a little box that you have near your microphone that adds some branding to it. And if you're going to go for a dynamic microphone like what I've got, I highly recommend going for a mic flag. They work well. Hassan says, I guess the level and complexity of the production must also be a guide to the level and complexity of the tech. Yes, let's have a read of that again. I guess the level and complexity of the production must also be a guide to the level and complexity of the tech. Yeah, it kind of depends. I mean, you can do an awful lot with the software. So if you're using like the likes of Ecamm Live, you could just plug in 2 or 3 Logitech C920 cameras and have different camera angles and then just swap between them. You don't necessarily need to have like an expensive microphone or the top level Stream Deck or anything like that. All you're paying for there is Ecamm Live or OBS Studio, something like that. So you can do a huge amount with the software and also the branding as well on the screen. But yes, if you want to raise the level of the quality of the audio and the look of, your camera makes a big difference, then yes, you're going to have to do that and go up to the next level. Well, thank you so much for watching. I'm so sorry for all the technical problems we have today, but it kind of does show you that even when you've been doing live video for years and years and years, you've done hundreds of episodes, it still happens to the best of us. And the important thing is that you just keep carrying on. And thank you so much, Alec and a few of the rest of you, for suggesting that I carry on. I think we managed to get there in the end. I just had that wobble earlier on when I just couldn't even click on the slides. And I thought when it got to that point, I thought, maybe we just need to reschedule. But I think we managed to get there in the end. So it's a bit of a shorter show today. But of course, you can go back and watch the replay of some of my other shows. You can listen to the podcast. Do go to iag.me/podcast. And I've got some fantastic shows coming up next week and the week after. I've got some amazing guests on the show, which I can't wait to share with you. But I think that is it for today. And I just want to leave you with this. I want to encourage you to level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of confident live video. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks for watching the Confident Live Marketing Show with Ian Anderson Gray.
Make sure you subscribe at iag.me/podcast so you can continue to level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of live video.
And until next time,
Toodaloo.